Hi, I'm Joni Patry, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Well, today I want to talk about somebody that's in the news and we're all rooting for her, and it's Celine Dion. She has come down with, in the year of 2022, she was diagnosed with a very rare neurological disorder called stiff person syndrome. And it's just where in the brain, it makes the muscles in the body stiffen up, but it's so rare. I don't think we know that much about it, but she's been sick for a while. And it's shocking, somebody like this that's been so incredibly talented and famous, not as easy of a life that you may think, but still, it's like, what a talent and what a personality. So I'm putting up Celine Dion's chart so we can see what's going on and a lot about her. So looking at her chart, she has Cancer as her rising sign, which makes the moon the chart ruler because it rules the ascendant. Whenever you look to where the chart ruler goes, it speaks volumes about who this person is and what their interests will be about most of their life. Her moon sits in the 10th house. The 10th house is career and success. And by the way, many times when somebody has a moon in the 10th house, they can be famous. I always tell people you may be very well known in whatever your talents or work are. And you'll find so many people that are famous have a moon in the 10th house, because the 10th house is your career, it's your social standing, it's your public, it is the public. And the moon actually represents the masses. So when a moon's in the 10th house, you're recognized and known by the masses, the public. So that's her moon that sits in her 10th house in Aries. And her moon sits really close to Mars, and Mars is in its own sign. So it is the ruler of the 10th and the 10th with the moon. And actually that combination has a name in Vedic astrology. It's called a Chandra Mangala Yoga. And what that essentially means is moon Mars. Chandra's moon and Mangala's Mars. But whenever they're together, it is known that it gives business success. And to have these together, especially with Mars being in its own sign of rulership, Mars in Aries is a go-getter. They're ambitious and they're driven. It's powerful. She will have, just looking at this chart, a powerful career. Yes. And whatever she chooses to do. But let's go to her second house. Why do I go to the second house? Well, most people think of the second house as the house of money. But in Vedic astrology, we also look at it as family, early childhood, of course, money and wealth. But it's also the voice, because it rules the mouth, and it can deal with how we eat, what goes into our mouth, but it also deals with our voice, what comes out of our mouth. And you will find that people with beautiful, beautiful voices, as she has, will have powerful planets in the second house. And she has Jupiter, which is a great, great benefic planet. And so if you'll look at her Jupiter in the second house, it gives her beautiful voice, and she makes money with her voice, right? So you look at the house that Jupiter rules. Jupiter rules Sagittarius. And you pop up there to it rules Sagittarius, which is the 6th house, which is interesting because that deals with health. But it also rules Pisces. And when we pop up to the house of Pisces, we have an array of planets there. And particularly the sun. And the reason why I want to jump to naming the sun is because the sun rules the second house of money and the voice. And it goes to the 9th house of luck and fortune. But not only that, the sun is in Pisces, ruled by Jupiter, while Jupiter is in Leo, ruled by the sun. So they are what we call a Parivartana Yoga, which empowers these two planets remarkably. So she has luck and fortune through her voice. And this Parivartana Yoga means she is very successful with it. It's kind of like you have the Sun in Leo and Jupiter in Pisces. It's phenomenal to have this. It's very fortunate. So it's written in the stars that she was going to be a success through her voice and have a successful career where she's famous. Now, while I'm thinking of this, I just want to remind everyone that if this is of interest to you, I am starting semester 1 with my university. Learn how to do this for yourself. Read a chart. Become my student. That starts September 22nd. Go to universityofvedicastrology.com. And also, remember this. If you want to get my newsletter absolutely free every week, go to galacticcenter.org, sign up for my free newsletter, check out my Patreon page, become part of a spiritual community, as well as don't forget my Galactic Planner. Still, we're offering 1 month free, but that's going to expire in October. So you better hurry up and come on and try it out for free. You can cancel it after a month if you don't like it. I just want you to try it because I think you're going to love it. It uses your chart to tell you exactly what's going to happen to you every day. And it goes into your calendar so you won't miss anything. So getting back to Celine's chart, looking at this, she was destined for greatness. But let's look too at what happened. How did this fall upon her, this illness? So what I felt was interesting, when she started having symptoms way before she was diagnosed in December of 2022, she was in a dasha that was Rahu Saturn. And she has Rahu and Saturn conjunct in the 9th house. Not a bad place to have it, but trust me, it doesn't do favors for your father. The 9th house is the father. I haven't checked out what it was like for her with her father, but there was difficulty, I can see from the chart. But regardless, when people go into Rahu Saturn or Saturn Rahu, it's difficult. And if somebody has them conjunct, it's going to bring something difficult to the forefront. I know this. And even though they're in the 9th house, which is not all that bad, represents traveling and spirituality, it sits 12th from the moon. You got to always look at a chart from where everything is from the moon. The 12th house and the 6th house deal with health and healing and problems, losses around health, the 12th house. So looking at that, this is when it all kind of started. By the time she was diagnosed, December of 2022, she just entered into Rahu Mercury. And this activates her Mercury, which is in the 8th house. She has Venus and Mercury in the 8th house. Very difficult. When she goes into the cycles of those two planets, it's going to bring out some difficult things. And this was what she experienced with her health. And if you look at Rahu to Mercury, Mercury sits behind Rahu. So it's in the 12th house from the dasha lord, the sub-dasha cycle. We call it the bhukti, Mercury. This is a difficult cycle. And then once I pulled up the transits, everything made sense. Because Saturn, during this time that she was ill, it came up that Saturn was in Capricorn, almost ready to go into Aquarius. And as it did, this is when all of her problems really started coming to the forefront. So I am looking at her chart, and during the time of her diagnosis, Saturn was about 26 degrees of Capricorn. And Saturn's full aspect is 3 signs from where it is. 1, 2, 3. Saturn was aspecting her natal Saturn and her Rahu. And that was tough. So Saturn to Rahu is really, really tough. And if we look at it from the moon, transiting Saturn was in the 10th house from her moon. This ended her career. She had to stop traveling so much and performing. because this really hit her hard. Then, soon after, Saturn went into Aquarius, into her 8th house, aspecting her Mercury and her Venus, which is the dasha that she's in. And she's in this dasha all the way till June of 2025, while Saturn is crossing over her Mercury and her Venus. She's making it though. She's making it, and she's trying to make a comeback. But I don't think it's going to happen very soon, because Saturn is in a difficult place in the 8th house. And I was looking at where Rahu and Ketu are transiting. Well, at the time of her onset of her diagnosis in 2022, Rahu was in her 10th house, but it was crossing over, getting ready to cross over her moon and her Mars. Very difficult. So these nodal axes, and she's in Rahu's Mahadasha, so it brought this to the forefront. Now, let me make this easier for all of you guys to understand. When we're looking towards the future, I want to know where everything is headed, particularly Jupiter, because Jupiter can bring a healing. Jupiter can make things better. And the whole time that Jupiter is in Taurus, it is in her 11th house, which is opening up to the public again. And she's come out and she even sang. That's amazing with her condition. So Jupiter, it will be in Taurus all the way till next May. So she will get back on her feet for the time being. So that's what I'm seeing. So Jupiter is in her 11th. And when Jupiter goes into Gemini, it will be, well, it'll be in the 3rd house from the moon. So hopefully she can travel again. But I know it's going to be in her 12th house, which means she might want to rest. She might want to pull back a little bit from being so public again. And Saturn, as Saturn goes into Pisces, which will happen the end of March. Actually, Rahu and Saturn will be in Pisces together. As Saturn comes to her sun, she may find that she's tired, and she's probably tired of the limelight and tired of the attention. I believe she'll pull back as Saturn crosses over her sun. But I just wanted to bring up her chart because there is hope, and there's always hope. We must always keep hope, even though the planets, well, we gotta consider that when Jupiter does go into Cancer in about 2 years, it'll be in her 1st house. That could be a revival. So we gotta hope and pray that Saturn doesn't take the wind out of her, as I've seen Saturn do, but hope and pray that she makes a revival. And I think she can. So there you go. So I'm going to leave it at that. And I hope you've enjoyed looking at Celine's chart, because she has an amazing chart. And if anybody can transform and make a comeback, it can be her. So with that, I think I'll close. Remember, if you want to learn more about me, get a reading or take my classes, get my newsletter, go to galacticcenter.org. And if you want to try my Galactic Planner, go to galacticplanner.com. Thank you.